Hello, 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 what ho! Welcome back to another exciting adventure of Piensas de Viejo. I'm your host, Travieso. I've just kept walking. Was just listening to Ricky Lee, my goddess. Ricky Lee. Oh my God. Okay, so just had a recurring thought from a previous pontiff, about spirituality. I wrote a paper, an essay that was never published, but it was entitled Do or Do Not Do. Do or do not do. There is no try. There is no try. I went a little bit too deep on that first one. If you noticed, it sounded like Yoda turned demonic. I had to keep that high pitch back in. Here's a freebie for you. Go back and watch Sesame Street and watch Grover. I am a furry fuzzy pal Grover. And then go listen to Yoda. Yoda. So I wrote this paper, Do or Do Not Do, There is No Try. So this is part 2 from a previous, I already said this. So the basic gist of the paper is that the sphere in which the inability of humanity to do anything that pleases God is separate from the sphere in which humanity can do all things for each other, right? Because if any astute Christian theologian, were listening earlier, they would have said, well, Travis, come on. You're talking about two different arenas, two different spheres in this discussion, whereas, even a crotchety old man can open a door for a woman, right? He can do nice things. Even a wicked parent can do a good thing for his child. So, but, ultimately my point was that the statement is that, I'm just totally rambling now. The theological construct that I'm talking about has to do with man's ability and inability, right? So man's total depravity ultimately is only to do with God, because God is the one with the scale in his hand, right? He's Lady Justice. He's the only one who can, I can do a good thing for you, but in my mind, I'm really doing it for another reason that's more selfish than the previous reason, and God can see that, so therefore it's disqualified in the eyes of God, right? So in that sense, my good deed is corrupted in God's sight. So that has nothing to do with ability, right? I had the ability to do the good deed. So I can do good deeds among people. I just can't do good deeds in the eyes of God without something to remedy the malady. So anyway, going back to my rambling, I really appreciate it if you're listening to this. If you are putting up with my thoughts and expressions or whatever, make sure you have subscribed to the channel and hit that like button. Click that Fonzarelli. And then make sure you share the content so that more people can be blessed by the pristine and pure pathological process of my menses. Okay. So, any astute theologian would say, well, look, Travis, even wicked people can do good things to each other, blah, blah, blah. Right. But talking about the theological construct where God enables a man to do that which he cannot do for himself. And in reality, God only does this one time, when man converts to God, right? Because if man is so depraved, he cannot choose the greater good, which is to love God with all of his heart, soul, mind, and strength. He can't do it. He will not do it unless his nature is changed, right? So then God comes in, changes his nature, and bring, I love you, God. Where have you been all my life? Thank you for saving me. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for making me. Thank you for blah, 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 right? However, he still is imperfect. He still is a sinner. He's still going to do wrong things. He's not always going to do, well, why not? Why doesn't God just completely create the whole new man right then and there? Right? Why not just make me perfect? So God only helps us out one time without us asking. But now think about this. Whenever I ask God, help me to do this, where's the evidence of that help? Oh, it's when you do it, Travis, when you do it. So then it's always about me, right? It's always dependent on me. Because if I say, dear God, or dear Mr. Genie, I wish I could fly. I wanna fly away. I want to fly away. I pray, but how will I know that I've got the ability? Because I don't feel different. I don't smell different. I don't, right? So I'm not going to climb up on my roof and jump because I didn't get this bring, right? Well, that's the same thing with the psychology of prayer. Christian prayer and Christian prayer and Christian disciplines are no different than spiritual prayer and meditation, because you're talking to yourself, right? Except in spiritual meditation, it's always you speaking your intention, right? So this is what my point was earlier in the previous video that I didn't come back around to. And that is that when I got to that point, I understood that it was all me and that I did have the ability to do it, I just did it. And I've been sustaining it. And it hasn't been a problem, you know? And I'm sure that there are gradations to all of these different elements that we're talking about. I'm not trying to be monolithic. I'm not trying to be a stick in the mud and say my way's right. I don't want you guys to think that I'm speaking what I'm speaking because it's the gospel, right? Although it is gospel, it is good news. But the good thing about this is that you can correct me. You can agree with me. You can learn from me. You can compliment me. I don't mean compliment when I say you did a good job. I meant like compliment in a grammatical sense where you got a subject verb compliment, right? I'm the subject and verb. You might say something that complements my discussion. That's what I'm here for. That's why the comment section is open, because I want to hear from you and benefit from your thoughts as well, even if you don't walk around and just talk to thin air. By the way, I feel spectacular. Shout out to the Magi. Shout out to, look at these kids. Kids enjoying life on that trampoline. That's just gold, man. That is just gold. Absolute gold. Speaking of which, that's one of the saddest things about my divorce is that I'm never gonna have a united family with grandkids running around, and that was like my whole life. That's what I wanted. I just wanted a family. Okay, let's go back to do or not do. So, as a Christian man struggling against pornography and masturbation, I was crying out to God. I can't stop, God. It's such a struggle. I can't do it. Will you help me? Help me not to like porn. But I love porn, right? And now that I'm looking at this with a spiritual mindset, a hermetic, an esoteric, a natural spiritual mindset. I still didn't turn the phone landscape. All apologies, Nathan Oakley. Yeah, I just did it. I just stopped. And I haven't lusted after it, right? I haven't been like, oh man, where's that hit? Where's that rush? Like it's so everything that I'm getting now as the man that I am, apart from the church, is everything that I was looking for when I was in the church and didn't get. So the real spiritual man, the true spiritual man, finds his fountain of youth, his fountain of life, his aqua fontes, his whatever, from within. It's all, you've got it all, right? Because just kind of go back and dismantle the argument from the Christian perspective. You have two people, one is a wicked unbeliever, and the other one's a Christian, and they both do the same act in a different location, right? One man loves his wife. He's not a Christian. He's a sinner. And yet he can love his wife and make her happy, right? Be a blessing to her without God. And sometimes, probably even more often, if he's like the person that I am now, he does it better. But the Christian man over there who tries to love his wife, struggles against hating her, finds it hard, finds it difficult, finds it impossible, because he's waiting for something that he has the ability to do. And the one thing is to realize, for me, the one thing was to see other people the same as me, to see me as the same as other people. And that is that I'm not even close to being finished, changing. So how can I be upset with you if you're 30% behind me? I might be 30% behind you, right? Am I jealous? No. Right? And if I'm 30% farther than you, am I jealous? No. No, because we're all the same. We're all in this together. I love you in your imperfection, in your immaturity. I don't need to get mad at you. I don't need to get upset with you. I don't need to be jealous about anything. So, really blew my mind when I understood spirituality. I was like, man, this is just like Christian prayer, and like, except better. You know, because all Christian prayer was self-psychology, self-awareness, and self-government, right? I see that I am impatient. I will, and this is what, I mean, I wrote prayers out for my own children, even though I had an immature understanding of what I'm talking about right now. It still had these intentional prayers. I will be patient with my brother. I will be patient with my sister. I will listen to my parents, right? What is that? You're just training yourself. You know? And in Christianity, it's like it's both. You have to have God's help and you have to be intentional about it. But I'm trying to communicate another aspect of this, and that is that I think the psychology of total depravity, for me, in my experience, was too extreme in the one direction to where I didn't understand that I still had the responsibility to do something, even though I was asking for God's help to do it, right? When you hear you can't love your wife, you don't love your, why don't you love your wife? Because you can't. Why? Because you're a sinner. You know, you need God's help. Okay, dear God, help me. You've just cut off 50% of your source because you're the source every single time. Even if God gives you help, you still, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to do it, right? But he sent us the paraclete, Travis. He sent us the paraclete, that little dove from heaven, floating down on top of your head. Well, if I've got the Holy Spirit, then I've got the power, don't I? Yeah, but you don't always do it. Well, why not? Give me that's why, you're right. Even if you're a Christian and you have God's Spirit and you have God's Word, you still have to do the thing. That's where spirituality and Christianity are the same. It still depends 100% upon you. And for me, I mean, I was begging God to save my marriage, to help me. But I had to get to this place. I had to get here, and I couldn't do it there. Okay, so hopefully this is beneficial and a blessing to everyone who hears it. I hope that you are living a life of integrity. And so this has been another exciting adventure of Piensas de Viejo. I've been your ether bandiness host. I'll have to explain what the ether band is for some of you who might be new to my shenanigans. All right. I have been Travis Finley. Until next time.